movie beckons you to search for a deeper meaning, layered carefully within the confines of its 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio. To understand a work this complex, you must first look at these cars on the freeway not as cars on a freeway, but the trappings of our everyday routines, our soulless interaction with others. Inside of that, you'll find the true human centipede. Now, I know that sounds like a sin removal, but no matter how much beauty I find in such a thoughtful film, I can't forgive this movie for being called the human centipede. Also, the movie opens with 1 minute and 5 seconds of traffic, which is obviously shorthand for, yeah, we know why you sick f***ers are here. You want to see some of that sweet human centipeding. The thing is, we know you want it so bad that you'll sit through all kinds of boring shit to get to it, you creeps. And frankly, I don't appreciate your tone, movie. This is a terribly framed photograph. Was this Hyder's favorite dog of the trio? Is that why it got the solo photo treatment? In that case, why is it on the business end? I'd imagine being up front would be the preferred position. Also, I don't believe for a second that you're getting these dogs to stand perfectly still for this photo. This thing would have unpeated itself immediately and violently. Also, B, the also that suffers the most, can we even show this photo on YouTube? I mean, it's just one dog photoshopped end to end 3 times, but we all know what that's implying. Either way, my hesitation at this early point does not bode well for the proceedings. Why is he pre-tearing his toilet paper? Now he has to choose between setting down the pre-torn sheets in the dirt or awkwardly holding them and the toilet roll while he drops his pants. Being human centipede might be the best for this guy. That way he never has to incorrectly prepare for this sort of thing again. Hyder is so proud of this elegantly seamless gun-concealing maneuver that he forgot to be worried about this car back here seeing him abducting an unconscious trucker. Also, this feels like a super inefficient way to find your victims. Even if you know this is a popular truck stop, these guys are on a tight schedule. If they go missing or don't check in, they're going to be reported as missing almost immediately. Honestly, the whole thing is a bit of a joke. I would pay good money to watch this guy dragging a man this big into his car somehow. I personally believe these brackets are unnecessary. Hey Bob, when we go to Germany, meet me at the hotel. What is the hotel? You'll know the one.
Yes, I was wondering if I could get driving directions to a nightclub called Bunker.
You found someone at a ratty hotel in Germany who understands English?
No, we're in Germany right now, and then we travel to Italy in a couple of days.
Considering Germany doesn't share a border with Italy, this means Jenny and Lindsay are willfully excluding either Austria or Switzerland from their vacation plans, and them shits is how world wars are started. Also, this entire hotel scene could and should have been a 2-line car conversation consisting of, man, I sure am enjoying this European road trip. Instead, we get some idle chit-chat, Jenny asking for directions she'll forget, something about a hot German waiter, and these clogs. These clogs get more backstory than any human character.
We met this cute German waiter. Yeah, and he invited us to this party tonight, so we're gonna go.
Might have been nice if you asked that guy how to get to the club rather than waiting to get back to the hotel and hope the front desk could understand a second language. Why is this license plate backwards?
I'm sorry, I just don't know where we are.
Oh, that's easy. You're in the part of the horror movie where 2 characters experience some kind of car trouble which forces them into taking a wrong turn into a house on the left or maybe a cabin in the woods or someplace other than their intended final destination. The hills have eyes.
Okay, we're gonna call the rental car service, get the papers.
No one will be seated during the thrilling 15 seconds where Jenny goes to the car and gets the papers.
219 200 806.
I googled the shit out of this, and unless they rented this European car for their European road trip from a rental service in Indiana, I'm gonna say she made this number up.
There's no signal.
There's always a signal.
That statement is still demonstrably false a full 10 years after it was spoken. Also, the woman who apparently doesn't own a cell phone in this movie apparently has opinions about cell service.
Oh my god,
Spending too much of your casting budget on storms with perfect timing.
Do you know how to change a tire?
No, I do not know how to change a tire.
But guys, back at the hotel, you definitely changed a tire. Guys are liars. Tire liars.
Are those headlights?
Wait, on a road? Get the f*** out of here with that silliness.
Von dir habe ich doch eine ganz heiße Kassette zu Hause.
Think about this. There are 2 people that Lindsay and Jenny meet while stranded. One is a creepy man of the potential sex offender variety, and the other is a literal mad scientist looking for people to sew together. I guess I just want to know if I'm supposed to be mad about the cultural stereotyping or the ridiculously bad luck.
He said
Yeah, but you could have been saying, looks like you've got a f***ing flat tire. That's f***ing awful, and you wouldn't know because you didn't bother to translate the other words.
But if we don't find a place in like 10 minutes, we are running back to this car.
But they were on the road for a while, so shouldn't they have a pretty good idea if anything resembling help is a 10-minute walk away? That's like 2-3 miles max. And what good will returning to the still broken down car do them? Between sticking to the lit road and stumbling through a dark forest, these 2 chose adventure.
Jenny, I'm trying,
Trying what? Lindsay, we've been out here for like an hour.
I would honestly rather watch 15 straight minutes of that truck driver shitting in the woods than another 15 seconds of this argument.
Tired and I'm cold. I'm not moving.
Believing this tactic will result in you being less tired, less cold, or more in possession of a car that works.
Oh my God! Look at the duck! I know, I don't like dogs!
Movie apparently doesn't want to give us the foreboding visuals of the dog cage, preferring that Jenny and Lindsay mention it while running in the rain. And they never show this dog cage and why it's so awful, ever. Like, ever.
Can we come in?
I feel like Eli Roth saw this movie and was inspired to make Knock Knock. Now that's a damn double feature right there. Knock Knock and Human Centipede. I can't even think of which one would go first. I feel like we need a third one to sew into these for some reason.
Are you alone?
Yes.
I present to you the first of many red flags that will be ignored by these perfectly believable human beings.
Something to drink?
Water's fine.
Are they really not going to check to make sure this guy isn't putting something in the drink? After the night they've already had? Hell, they can watch him from here. And what kills me is this dude doesn't even try to hide it. Also, I'm sure he doesn't have a lot of people snooping around his kitchen, but just on the off chance he ends up being investigated, why not hide the Rohypnol somewhere other than with the cutlery?
Do you live here with your wife?
No, I don't like human beings.
The statement isn't immediately followed by Lindsay and Jenny's legs spinning really fast as they run on the spot before launching themselves through the nearest wall, leaving behind nothing but a smoke outline of themselves and a sign saying, "Nope."
Can I call then?
No.
I haven't seen anyone try to use a cell phone since they couldn't get a signal back at the car. Now that they've moved to a completely different area, why hasn't anyone tried that yet?
Rohypnol causes drowsiness, dizziness, disorientation.
And is the preferred toxin of choice for melodramatic villains who also enjoy explaining their villainy as it happens. Holy shit, that is a giant ass can of fruit. Maybe that's just how they do breakfast in Germany, but goddamn, that much fruit? Aha, see? He ate one spoonful and walked away. It is too much.
You don't match. I have to kill you.
I have tremendous standards when it comes to Human Centipede construction. I mean, I can't just stroll out to my local fair with a wonky pea. What would the judges think? Also, now that he's killing this guy, it's unfortunate that the only thing this actor gets to say he did in this movie is take a shit behind a bush. Also, what does match even mean? Blood type? Cholesterol levels? Height? Does the middle one have to have a different dominant hand so that they don't crawl in circles? Oh, you can f*** off with this he's sad about the loss of life bullshit. Your movie's premise is stitching three people together to become a human centipede, so I will not be surprised that the perpetrator has no redeeming qualities. I'm frankly not expecting much emotional depth here. The fact that it's so easy for this guy to find victims for this project shows the importance of proper centipede planning. You don't want to just knock out the first guy you see taking a shit in the woods. You need to know your dimensions beforehand. Sure, killing people isn't that difficult, but think of all the time you waste burying the victims in the backyard. Now here's a guy who does not like to take 2 trips. Okay, so we're about to watch a mad doctor create a human centipede, but one thing for which I will not have tolerance is if I see a boom mic enter the God damn it! In order to understand how this operation works, the first laminate must explain the frequently misunderstood concept of what 3 people are.
The leading surgeon in separating Siamese twins.
Hyder was so frustrated with the career of separating conjoined twins that he totally, naturally decided to dedicate his retirement to creating conjoined beings. I see no further need to flesh out any motivations here. Let the body horror commence.
I'll explain this spectacular operation only once.
It's hilarious. This guy thinks anyone will want to get a refresher course on how all this works. Plus, 2 people won't even be able to ask questions once the operation is done.
The lips from B and C and the anus of A and B are cut circular.
Dr. Hyder not only dreamed up a sickening experiment, but he also invented a second meaning for ass to mouth. What follows is Dr. Hyder describing in a fair amount of technical detail how each of these humans will be attached to each other. This is a process that a real-world human being with probably a decade of medical education actually spent time working on, instead of doing actual surgeon things.
Ingestion by A, passing through B, the excretion of C.
This guy explains the extremely gross process of what being in a human centipede entails, but somehow it's not nearly gross enough. Like, he just kind of yada yadas what happens between person A and B and between person B and C. I particularly like how he describes that one step as passing through B. The watering down of the evil is almost poetic. This guy could write for the New York Times.
The human centipede.
Crawl centipede.
First sequence.
Holy shit, he even did the subtitle. Extra points. Also, this is not a centipede. It only has 12 legs, not 100. I mean, centipedes don't even have 100 legs, so he was really facing an uphill struggle from the beginning. This is a human dozenpede at best. Did he deliberately loosen these things? There's so much space in these restraints to wriggle free, I don't think Lindsay even needed to undo them. Does the surgery have a higher success rate if you let one of them have a jog beforehand? Also, Lindsay finally frees herself, but why the f*** has she waited until now to do it? There's not even a lock on these things. It's just a buckle by the looks of it. They haven't been knocked out this entire time, so did she really need the impending anesthesia as an extra incentive? Also, second sequence. Somehow, a more insane Frankenstein here doesn't hear or see any of Lindsay's quite obvious fumblings as she escapes. So, are you gonna look for any windows to smash, or are you just gonna wait until it's too late to do that?
You need help!
He really does. I mean, I don't know how he's planning on performing this surgery solo, but I also don't think this should be Lindsay's main concern right now. Oh man, this would have been super embarrassing if she'd opened the curtain in any of the other windows. Also, apparently his plan now is to smash through this window with a tranquilizer gun to recapture Lindsay, but breaking down the door would have been a lot easier. Also, while this is a great shot for the movie, is this his best option? Was there not a rock or something he could have used? Does he have a spare tranq gun if he fucks this one up? I mean, sure, you'd be amazed how often I just run into a fucking swimming pool just because I wasn't expecting it to be there. Happens all the time.
Let me and Jenny go. Please.
That Japanese guy you brought in? Him. Thinking you can hold your breath longer than someone who isn't.
One of my Rottweilers also tried to escape just before the operation.
Did you do that little demonstration on the overhead projector with your Rottweilers? That might have been the culprit.
You are the middle piece.
Ooh, I can't wait until we hear Tom Segura say this catchphrase daily when they turn the human centipede into a TV game show.
Game over.
Hey now, careful, Doc. John Kramer has trapped men for far less egregious crimes than stealing taglines.
The overdose cut off again.
Normally I'd say something about an ex machina here, but if there's an ex machina to be had, it's a padding the runtime ex machina. All this does is get Dr. Hyder out of the room so that Lindsay could wander around the house and try to save Jenny. And we all know there's no chance in hell she's going to be able to do that. Huh, I guess the massive gash in Lindsay's right arm stopped bleeding on its own. A medical miracle! I don't expect Lindsay to be thinking clearly in this situation. In fact, I'd probably do dumber things than Lindsay is doing right now. However, with a clear mind and a comfortable office in which to think without any distractions and a refreshing Baja Blast to drink, I must ask, does she really think she's going to be able to carry around a sedated Jenny and escape before Dr. Hyder comes back? I understand why they don't show Lindsay pulling Jenny up the stairs. It would have been too entertaining. I don't get why Lindsay does all this stuff for Jenny. Remember when Jenny said,
There's always a signal.
and then remember when Jenny said,
You know what? I don't know. Lindsay, I'm not walking anymore.
and remember when Jenny said,
I think we're supposed to turn.
all three of those things would be grounds for keeping someone's reservation in the human centipede. Guys, this nearly 2.5-minute scene of surgery is great and all, but what I'm really wondering is if Dr. Hyder ever got that window fixed. It's been bothering me forever. Oh, cool, you got it fixed. Sweet. Earlier, Hyder said that if Lindsay didn't open the door, he'd...
Pull your teeth out one by one without any anesthesia.
And since Lindsay is clearly sedated, I don't know how I can believe anything this man says or respect him at all now. How exactly is he performing this surgery on 3 people at the same time completely alone? I don't care if he's the best surgeon in the world, someone would have had to human centipede him first to have enough hands to pull this off. Also, Hyder can join the long list of horror movie surgeons who seem to think they can bypass the entire field of anesthesiology with a quick injection. Based on the diagram and explanation earlier, I'm pretty sure that the cuts into this butt cheek that I can't even show you here are inverted, and even if I'm wrong, someone is paying a price for the time I spent trying to figure it out. I have 0 questions about the human centipede itself. The way it works is self-explanatory. And Dr. Hyder sure as isn't going to explain it a second time anyway. My main question is, how did he haul these 3 from the surgery room downstairs all the way up here? Does this motherfucker have a freight elevator in his house?
There we go. Yeah! I did it!
Movie takes 48 minutes and 57 seconds to finally human centipede. And if it had waited its full runtime, this would have been a sin removal. Also, it's right about here that you're thinking about your life choices. What could I have done better? I should have helped more people. I should have told more people that I love them. And in this case, I'm talking about the actors. Honestly, Dr. Hyder appears to love himself so much that I'm surprised he's not into cloning himself and making a centipede from those.
Take the word and bring it to me.
Gotta say, man, creating a human centipede to do menial tasks like this is a true waste. I know this guy's insane, but that doesn't mean he can't come up with more practical uses for his creation. Like, I don't know, making the human centipede wander left and right through the yard while little kids try to shoot sections of it before it gets to the other end. You can even throw real spiders into the mix that can increase the challenge. We all know where this is going, but my question is, haven't these people had to use the bathroom already? Wouldn't you need to change his underwear like all the time? Now that I've thought about it, this is the biggest deal breaker for me ever creating my own human centipede. I guess Katsuro just took a bite out of Dr. Hyder, but this would have required moving the entire human centipede in his direction without him noticing. And I highly doubt these assholes have gotten the hang of moving around while attached to each other like this. At least not quietly.
Now you can bite me.
I'm not entirely sure why Hyder is bothering to speak English. It's obvious that Katsuro doesn't speak English, so is this really just for the benefit of the ladies? You know, the only ones who can't reply?
Ah, Mr. Kamikaze is a chicken today.
Dr. Hyder chooses this odd moment to reveal that he has no idea what noise a chicken makes.
Feed her! Feed her!
Okay, so we all knew this was an inevitable part of the proceedings, how the rear occupants are fed. Even if it were possible to pull this surgery off, I don't know what medical school Hyder went to that had him believing another human could survive on a diet of shit, let alone adding a second human who has to survive on the shit created by another person who's only ingesting shit. The IV we see them connected to could be hooked up to the fountain of youth and still not keep everyone alive. Also, let's say they can survive on a diet of feces. What are the odds of the meal making it to the next person down without them having an entirely predictable bad reaction? Okay, let's move on. I'm beginning to regurgitate the same sins.
I want to sleep. I didn't cut your vocal cords.
Hey man, you've apparently got earplugs. Problem solved as far as I'm concerned. Now, maybe you don't want to kill all the sound just in case one of their health monitor alarms goes off, but my guess is it would be too late for you to help them if it happened anyway. I totally get the urge to escape. Dr. Hyder is swimming, not paying attention to you, and you're used to that centipede life. But again, I don't know what they expect will happen here. Maybe they can get a hold of a weapon of some sort, like that tranquilizer gun. But escaping is out of the question. No matter where you go, human centipedes are notoriously easy to find. You know what? Perhaps the biggest sin of this movie is being boring. This movie is all premise. You would amuse your friends for a brief moment by saying, okay, so crazy doctor will sew 3 people together in a human centipede, and believe me, fellas, the bathroom business is wild. And then what happens? Well, they hate being in the human centipede. And the doctor's mean to them occasionally. And then what? I think you guys are being unserious about the idea. Let's go back over this. So a crazy doctor will sew
Constipated.
movie about a human centipede somehow shows restraint when it comes to the inevitable person B to person C digestive sequence. Well, then why the did you answer the intercom down here? Also, for some reason, they do in fact shut up. I mean, what have they got to lose? What more could he possibly do to them? Do not answer that, movie! Knowing the police are at the door, Hyder takes the sensible precaution of hiding the incriminating photo of his triple dog. Obviously, he doesn't mind that in order to get to this photo, the police would have also walked past the suspicious damage to this door and the bloodstains on this carpet. Never mind. I'm sure those are much easier to explain than a clever bit of photoshopping.
Alter, guten Tag.
So did the cops just not hear the screaming on the phone? Geez, if no one in the house can hear Katsuro when he's yelling like this, maybe Dr. Hyder should have put his human centipede down here every night so that he could get some more rest.
Ein Zeuge hat auf ihrem Grundstück eine junge Frau schreien hören, mit amerikanischem Akzent.
What a bunch of bullshit. Are there even any houses around Dr. Hyder's? And the only screaming that could have been heard was when Lindsay locked herself in the room upstairs, but that's before the window was broken. And I will again point out that this house is in the middle of nowhere with no other houses around it. All the other screaming has taken place downstairs where nobody upstairs can hear a goddamn thing. And fine, let's assume he does have a neighbor. This means that a neighbor apparently heard Lindsay screaming, but somehow didn't see Hyder burying the truck driver, bringing Katsuro into the house, didn't once see or think the 3-dog situation was weird, or that there were 3 humans stitched together walking around his yard.
Ihr silberner Mercedes wurde genau an der Stelle gesehen, wo man den holländischen LKW gefunden hat.
Okay, they have his car at the scene of one of the kidnappings and an independent report of someone screaming from his house. How is this not a conversation that's happening at the police station?
I've got 2 strong and healthy replacements.
When Hyder talked through the surgery, he said,
Good news. Your tissues match.
but how can he tell either of the cops are tissue matched just by looking at them? Also, since the 2 cops' tissue matches and the selection criteria is this broad, how unlucky was that truck driver?
Preparing for a new operation, a quadruplet.
Dr. Hyder, when you decided to make this human centipede, I looked the other way. Just good, clean fun is what I thought. So I put it out of my mind. But now you're thinking of stitching 4 people together? Now it's time for an intervention. Katsuro's experiencing what I believe to be post-clarity. You know, I think I'm making real progress with my new pet. I bet I could leave a scalpel within reach and they wouldn't even be tempted to stab me to death with it. Let's find out.
Haben Sie einen Durchsuchungsbefehl?
Durchsuchungsbefehl habe ich in 15 Minuten.
How do you not already have one? Movie cops always pull his shit. It's as if getting a warrant is entirely possible, but also the most inconvenient thing they could possibly imagine doing. So they always end up trying to trick the suspect into letting them look around without one, when the murderer/kidnapper/human centipede creator is never going to fall for that.
Besorgen Sie sich einen Durchsuchungsbefehl und mein Haus gehört Ihnen.
I mean, just how the do you successfully stitch 3 people together in the surgery of the millennia, but then let this ridiculous shit happen? Katsuro stabs Hyder in the foot, then the knee, then nibbles on his neck. and then calls it a day. Why the f would you leave this man breathing given what's at stake? Also, probably the funniest thing about this movie is how much it tries to establish the idea of centipedes, only to remind you mostly of dogs. I've already mentioned the secret freight elevator before, but once again, if it's so tough for these assholes to crawl as a centipede up the stairs, how the f did they get up and down the stairs in the first place? You know, we're at the hour and 15-minute mark, and I just don't think Dr. Hyder is creepy enough. Can we have him lick some blood or something? I think that's what made Hannibal Lecter so great, and people love that guy no matter how many shitty movies he's in. Wait, did Lindsay seriously think that he wouldn't have replaced this window? Was that her plan? Wouldn't she have been able to tell from the yard that it had been replaced? And if she knew it had been replaced, why didn't she gesture to Katsuro to get the lamp and then get over here? The movie has been wise not to show this centipede from behind too much because it gives away the whole illusion. It's like they covered everyone's private areas in bandages, put some fake blood around the junction, and figured that would sell it. How hard would it have been to shut the door behind you? Not harder than climbing up those fucking stairs, that's for sure. Oh wow, I didn't realize that when you're in a human centipede situation, you still need to keep your honor intact. I don't know what gets into Katsuro here. I'm not going to pretend I know what humans will do in any situation. What I do know is that Katsuro has an about face here that is so out of character that it could only be a movie trying too hard to get to its tragic ending. He's been a fighter this whole time until for some reason seeing Dr. Hyder again makes him change his mind and he decides to slit his own throat, which we will not show you here. It's an action that totally fucks the two women behind him. It's super disappointing to see a character change so drastically at the whim of the screenplay. It's here the movie gets all philosophical and tries to be way more than it is, and there's just nothing more phony than trash trying to elevate itself at the 11th hour. You left the fucking front door unlocked, knowing the police were coming back? You know what? F this crime scene and all the evidence therein. This cop and this boot, apparently. I'm struggling to work out what exactly went down in the swimming pool room between Hyder and Voller. When Krantz arrives and sees that Voller is in the pool with a scalpel in his neck and Hyder is now in possession of his gun. But think about how that could have happened. A drugged Voller stumbles into the room, sees Hyder, who has dragged his ass all the way over to the far side of the room, by the way, and decides to stumble over to him instead of shooting him. Okay, we heard a gunshot, so maybe Voller fires and misses, fine. But how would he ever end up close enough for a now disabled Hyder to stab him in the neck and take his gun? And how did he end up in the pool? Hyder certainly didn't push him in. So what we're saying is that Voller walked over to Hyder, bent over, got stabbed in the neck, dropped his gun in Hyder's lap, got back up, and then stumbled into the opposite end of the pool. And if you come away thinking any of the above is argumentative, I will refer you back to the fact that the whole thing happened off screen, so it wouldn't have to be explained. Damn, dude, you act like you've never seen a human centipede before. Also, isn't it about time you called backup? Like, I understand you can't do anything about this, but when you hear a gunshot and see a human centipede, don't you call reinforcements? This guy also forgets how to cop, and now I'm just kind of mad at this movie. Look, no, you hear about this movie, you hear about its human centipede, and you go, ooh, gross, I'll watch it only if I'm under duress. So that when that finally does happen, and you do watch it, you realize it's boring, and all the characters suck, even the ones that had some promise. And now I've forgotten all about the grossness, and I'm just angry. Now Jenny is gonna die, which is perhaps the one death aside from Dr. Hyder that makes sense in this movie. And now Lindsay is fated to die, unable to move, stuck between a and a scarred face. But also, aside from this terrible fate, I guess we're supposed to believe that she's unwell enough that she's gonna die between now and the time that the German police realize their two cops didn't come back from the house for which they got a warrant. This movie was successful enough to warrant 2 sequels, and I look forward to the day where all 3 Sins videos are stitched together into our very own inhuman Centipede.
It really doesn't give a shit. If it's hungry, it's hungry. Ew, what's that in its mouth?
Ihr seid doch immer feucht zwischen den Schenkeln.
You know I don't speak Spanish.
That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Could you please tell us where the Gregory's live?
I don't know anyone around here by that name.
Verdammt nochmal, kannst du nicht aufpassen, du dumme Sau!
Don't wait for the translation! Answer me now!
Shooting people was a normal thing. It was no big deal. We had a serious problem with Billy Bats. This was really a touchy thing.
Cyberdyne Systems Model 101, living tissue over metal endoskeleton.
No, Billy, while Feel So Good may have charted in 1978, the album was released in December of 1977.
Was ist denn da unten in dem Keller?
Be careful. You could spend all your money in there.
Ah, Mr. Kamikaze, is a chicken today.
Cuckoo-ca-cha! Cuckoo-ca-cha!
Bite my boot.
Hey, lift my stockings. Yes, lift my stockings.
Centipede, you can't run away.
Ja, bitte.
Birds of a feather flock together, so do pigs and swine. Rats and mice have their chance, as will I have mine. Bye-bye, Jenny.